So this is my first YouTube video. It's my first video, and we're going to talk about the spray booth that I made. It's a Water-Falll spray booth where the water runs down the inside the booth, absorbing the glaze, and also you're pulling air out of the booth, which also pulls some of the glaze out. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Joe Dillett. I'm a wood carver, been in business about 40 years. About half of that was full-time. I retired early last year. I've been taking classes for a little over a year from Stephen Hill. I'm lucky enough that this famous potter, Stephen Hill, lives only a couple miles from me, and we're just having a lot of fun. I've picked up a lot of Stephen's tips. Stephen sprays glazes on. He pours the inside, he sprays the outside, and I've been doing the same. So one of the things I tried to do was to get a spray booth that was very portable, that could be rolled around, and so I'm going to go through that. I'm going to explain its operation. I hopefully going to give you enough information where you can build it. It's quite simple to build. I have a set of plans that you're going to be able to download to know the size of the openings to cut, the materials to buy, and so forth. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the booth. So let me show you the total booth here to start with. It was a 165-gallon polypropylene tank, and what I did is I just took a saber saw and I cut the doors out. How I did that is I laid some masking tape down where the lines were going to be. I first cut the two lines where the hinges were. I fastened the hinges on before I did any more cutting. Then I cut the center and I put the hasp on before I cut the top and bottom. That way everything lined up. So the doors open up in the tank. I built the stand. The stand rolls around. One of the ways that reasons I designed this was that it was portable. It could fit through a normal doorway, a 3-foot doorway, and it was easily moved. In your studio, when you're cramped for space, it's nice to have something like this that you can move out of the way. And so anyway, I just took the thing outside. I used this, probably I've been using it about 7 months. I've glazed over 300 items in here, and springtime comes, so I just moved it outside to change the water, took a hose, sprayed it off. I figured as long as it's clean, I'm going to show it to you before I put it all back together. So I'll show you the different parts that go with it, but let's just talk about the tank first of all. There's a 16-inch diameter hole in the top that was used for filling. I took the screw part that goes on the top, discarded that, and I made a little piece of plexiglass that fits, just lays on the top. I've got 4 little standoffs that hold it in place so it doesn't slide around. The reason why I use the plexiglass is I take a light, just any old light will work. This is what I use. That light just sits right on top of the plexiglass and shines right inside on the work. One thing nice about the polypropylene tank is that it's translucent. There's a window behind here, and you can see there's a lot of light that comes in, even without artificial light above it. But the artificial light does help, and if you're spraying at night, the artificial light is plenty enough to be able to see your work. Now the other, besides the base that goes on it and the tank, I will show you the guts of the inside, the spraying system, how that works, and the other parts. The other parts are very easy to make, and I will show you what they consist of. So I'm going to bring the camera closer so you can see the inside of the tank. So what you're looking at here is the top of the tank. So as you look around, that is the tubing I've got going around the top. and that's where the water comes out of that tube. It goes all the way around, and what I've got is 2 sets of clips. Let me show you the clip. This clip just pulls right off, and what that is holding is some plastic that goes over the tube. Holding my camera. I don't have a camera person, so but anyway, this plastic is what holds the water against the walls, and I've just got a pipe clamp here. I'm sorry for the way this thing acts here. Let me show you this. I bent a pipe strap. It's a copper pipe strap that just fits over the tube of water, and that's what holds the plastic up over the tube. And that plastic guides the water down the wall. So I just clip the tube right on the top, and that I've got those clips all the way around. Then there's the plastic tube is also screwed to the wall with more pipe clamps. All the screws and all the pipe clamps are either brass or copper, so they don't rust. So the tube runs down the wall, right down to the bottom of the tank, and that is what's going to go in the sump pump. What you're looking at down in the bottom is a drain tube, which I don't use. That's the outside of it. I keep it plugged, and I empty it out with a bucket. What I did this last time, I emptied it out by just taking it outside and tipping the whole thing over. It's quite light. So what I have here is a sump pump that I picked up from Menards. It's a pump that goes into a fountain, so you find it in the garden center. And this pump, the tubing just goes over the top. This is submerged in the water. And so that's what pumps the water up through the top, and then it runs down the walls. The reason for this Water-Falll booth is that when the spray of the glaze hits the water, then that takes the spray down. I also have an air evacuation system that we'll get in a little later. One of the things that I found works well with the pump. Here, excuse me a second, let me get the bucket. Is this sump pump goes inside this bucket, and it sits down in the bottom, and this bucket has got holes up off the bottom, and so as the glaze is running down into the bottom of the booth, it takes the heavy glaze, settles on the outside, and these holes are just below the water line in there. So I've only got about so much water in the bottom of the tank, and that's about maybe 10 gallons. And so anyway, and that's all it needs, is about 10 gallons. So I keep the water level just above these holes slightly. The glaze settles here. Some glaze does go through these holes, and so I do get some glaze inside. So far I haven't had to replace the sump pump. The sump pump has quite a few hours on it now. I'm estimating probably maybe 40 hours right now on the sump pump. I know some of you are going to ask, how far is that up from the bottom? That is at 4 inches all the way around, and it's 3/8 diameter hole, and there's probably 30 of them. And I didn't measure. I just drew a line 4 inches, and I just drilled a bunch of holes. So, and that equates to about 10 gallons, maybe 11 gallons that goes in the booth.